Have you ever heard that you need to be rich to buy a business? What if this is actually a misconception and is holding you back from becoming rich? In reality, you don't need money. You need creativity and resourcefulness. People like Warren Buffett, Alex Hormozi, and Cody Sanchez didn't have millions in their bank accounts when they first started, and yet they were able to build multi-million-dollar empires. Why? They were resourceful. By the end of this, you'll get an overview of their tools to buy a profitable business without spending their own money. More importantly, you'll know how to avoid the costly mistakes most beginners make and how to do it right from the start. Some of you might be wondering, why would I want to buy a business instead of starting my own? The US Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that roughly 50% of small businesses fail within 5 years. But when you buy an existing profitable business, you reduce much of that early stage uncertainty. Even if you don't have money, there are still 6 ways to buy a business. Let's start with the simplest one to understand. If you don't have money, but you have access to people who have money, you can use their money. No, I'm not talking about robbery. Instead, you ask them to invest in your business purchase. In exchange, they will likely want to own a part of the business or get a cut of its profits. You'll do the work of running the business and they'll provide the money. Similarly, you can spread your net wider and get multiple public investors with equity crowdfunding. These investors give you money in exchange for ownership in your business. What if you don't want to give up ownership? You can use debt crowdfunding. Here, investors lend you money and you'll repay them with interest. The next one is a bit more complex. This method is useful if the business you're buying has valuable things that you can borrow against. Basically, you will find a lender and tell them, lend me money to buy this business, and if it goes under, you can take its inventory, equipment, etc. This is called asset-based lending. Here's another similar strategy. Let's say you agree to buy a business for $500,000 and the business owns a building that's worth $450,000. You can approach an outside investor and ask, would you be interested in buying this $450,000 building here and leasing it back to me? This strategy is called a sales leaseback. You get the money you need and an investor gets a building that they can collect rent from. Another approach is to go to a bank and apply for an SBA loan. These loans are easier for banks to approve than traditional business loans because the government backs part of the risk. This means the SBA will cover part of the bank's loss if you can't repay it. But don't get it wrong, that doesn't mean the SBA pays your loan for you. If you can't pay it back, the bank can go after your personal items like your savings, your car, and maybe even your kids. Okay, the last one was a joke, but you get the point. The line between your business and personal finances basically disappears with an SBA loan. Last, but certainly not least, you can borrow the money from the sellers themselves, with interest of course. In this case, the seller acts like the bank. You agree to pay them over time, similar to a pay over time plan for a business. If you want them to finance most of the purchase, you might need to give them a higher interest rate or increase your buying price. Seller financing benefits both parties. The seller gets to offload the business quickly and earn a steady income, and you get to buy without needing a huge pile of cash up front. Before you decide to buy a business, you must know what type of business to look for and avoid. The last thing you want is to buy a business that gives you more stress than your old boss ever did. Number 1, buy income, not ideas. You don't need a unicorn like the next Facebook, but you do need a simple business that generates income. Look for old and reputable businesses with a brand. 2, make the ugly duckling shine. Issues with technology, marketing, and so on can be great opportunities to increase your profits. You don't need to look for a perfect business with 0 problems. 3, look for exits. Find sellers who want out because of retirement, burnout, health issues, etc. They'll not only be more flexible, but also more willing to offer seller financing. I know. The last tip might sound a bit predatorial, but I'm not telling you to go kidnap their grandkids and force them to sell. They want out and you want in. Win-win. Regardless of which business you buy, you need the correct mindset if you want to make the big bucks. What's that? You must commit to learning. Because at the end of the day, your business doesn't run itself. If you don't grow, your business won't either. So before you go hunting for deals, make sure you check out this next video in which I break down exactly why and how you should develop your skill sets. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe.